What bag of delights have you got secreted about your person for us to enjoy today?
That's an interesting way of putting it. I have something that I've been
I
teasing
really
for.
didn't know how that sentence was going to end until I ended it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, so that makes two of us.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Audiophiles, you bastard. My name's John. His name is Andy.
It is.
And now we're flying through the stars. I hope this night will last forever. More of that later. But first, Andy, what bag of delights have you got secreted about your person for us to enjoy today?
That's an interesting way of putting it. I have something that I've been
I
teasing
really
for.
didn't know how that sentence was going to end until I ended it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, so that makes two of us. Um, yeah, I'm gonna tap into something that I've been teasing for a little bit now. I don't know, some of the folks out there might have already have listened to these guys and be familiar with them. If they've clicked on this video, then probably they are familiar with it. But I wanted to bring Tame Impala to the channel. So I don't know how much have you listened to much Tame Impala?
I have got the first two albums.
Okay, okay. Well, the track that I want you to listen to today is called The Less I Know, the Better. So please go off and give that a listen and let me know what you think.
Why not?
Someone said we lived together. I ran out the door together. She was holding hands with Trevor. Not the greatest feeling ever. Said boy, set together. We should try your luck with Heather. When I thought we slept together. All the less I know, the better. The less I know, the better. Oh, my love.
Ooh, didn't like that. Right, interesting start. Really nice sounding guitar, and then comes the sort of beats, etc. And then it's kind of all filled out with lots of synthy keyboard action. Sounding quite 80s. I had like flashes of Richard Marx then for some reason. I don't know why. Not particularly a fan of him, but there you go. And then in comes the vocals, and I kind of remember sort of from the Tame Impala that I have and before. Um, there's a couple of albums. In a Speaker was all right, and then it started to go. Perhaps I don't know which way around they were actually. Which one was first? Lonerism. I didn't enjoy that so much. I think these vocals are really weak. They just sound very wishy-washy. Um, that's what he's going for. Then he's got it spot on. Yeah, and that's sort of a old school sort of at the end, the echo. It's fairly unpleasant. It's really hard to distinguish his words. So it sounded like he's singing the word together at the end of every line. To be honest with you, together, together, because it's really hard to tell with that high register and the way it's sort of blending in with the other stuff. Yeah, it's just got promise, but it's some of the way they're executing it. I don't doesn't appeal to me. We'll see how it goes.
Can't you see yourself by my side? No surprise.
that previous section was more of a sort of electro pop funk. I enjoyed the bass bumps, boom, and it sounded almost like a Rhodes piano, sort of ponderously doing notes or chords, but heavy with the old clicks. I don't know if that was real finger clicking. It sounded like it was come from a machine. Um, yeah, I just picture women with big hair and rah-rah skirts. Is very 80s, and that sort of music was affected by Prince, and virtually everybody else absolutely murdered it, trying to copy him. And I really didn't enjoy that scene at all. That was the most painful part of the 80s, that and hair metal. Um, yeah, so when this second comes back in again, that dun, 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 and you've got the sort of bass line, it's sounding positively storming now compared to what just happened. Yeah, interesting. We're going back into the cocktail lounge. Before that bit there where he was kind of saying, "Don't make me wait forever," I think he kept saying. I was just striking me as he was singing that this has got quite a metronomic quality to it, and it sounds like it's marking out time. Um, I think that's probably deliberate, and it's quite clever on his part if it is. Okay. This is really 80s. Chimes. So hang on. Yeah, elements of this I liked. Other elements had me mentally running for the hills. It was almost raking up scar tissue from the 80s. I had to live through that bastard time. And some truly awful music, as well as some really, really fantastic music, don't get me wrong. But yeah, this sort of music made me turn away from American music for a year or two. College rock aside, Painted in the Ground, stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of reinforced my opinion of Tame Impala. It's got good bits to it, but the way they're progressing is not my particular avenue of delight. And good luck to them. I think that's probably sums it up. But we'll find out more about it. Let's go back and chop it up with Andy.
All right, you're back. So, what did you think, John?
So this both shed new light on the band for me, and also reinforced some of my opinions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. It's a guy, isn't it? It's a project. I always want to say Kevin Bishop, but it's not. But it's something like that. It's his name.
No, you're halfway there.
Yeah. So anyway, it starts with. So I'll just no. Actually, what I will say is, so I've got the first two albums digitally. So in the speaker, so I quite like. I'm not. To be fair, I've not listened to it in ages, but quite like the overall sound of that. And Lonerism,
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy as much, though it seemed to have quite a bit of Beatles influence to it. But also, it was starting to sort of branch out into other things. And yeah, there's certain things which I appreciated more than others in terms of the stylistic change. Um, so on to this one. So it starts with this sort of great sounding guitar, which is joined by a catchy beat and then a keyboard melody, and I think a synth bass and also some chimes. So it really does have a nice sort of groove to the song at this point, and that sort of um, guitar basically led part of action is doing its stuff. The vocals come in, and I have to say, it kind of follows the line of progression because there's sort of standard on the first album. I don't know which album this is from, but this must be later. They're a bit more sort of wavering on the second album, and here they're sort of fairly high register. Um, and as such, they kind of almost have a bit of a watered down sound. They almost bleed into some of the higher synths. Um, there's a touch of reverb in certain places, and it made it really difficult for me to make out the words. Not that I have skills in abundance in that sort of department anyway. So, you're kicking away the crutch from a one-legged guy and going, go on, fucking run the 100 meters now. So there you go. Anyway, so in fact, as this song progresses, this verse progresses, sorry, it seems to start from this nice sort of groove and then become more and more diluted. And so this sort of the beat and the drive becomes less and less and becomes much more smoothed out sound. Um, my perspective, anyway. By the end of it, I'm pretty sure I heard him say the title line something about the less I know, the better. And I thought, I said in the reaction, it kind of sounded like he was saying the same word at the end of every line. It sounded like the word together, like a lot. And it wasn't, but it kind of really sounded like that to me. Um, so yeah, at the end of it, he repeats that line twice, but the less I know, the better. And at the same time, there's this sort of retro sort of echo effect. It's like a really big echo rather than just reverb. Um, and it's and I found it quite unpleasant that it wasn't. It was quite jarring to the ear. I didn't like enjoy it. And then we dropped down into something which I think was fairly akin to sort of 80s synth pop funk. Um, there's the marked difference in sound between that verse and then this section here. Um, and I think this sort of style of music, I think we said this to each other off camera, absolutely mastered by Prince and butchered by pretty much everybody else. um, so it was really interesting. We get some clicks, some random bass bumps, which I really enjoyed. And I was kept after this boom, and quite a ponderous keyboard action um, that had hints to me of almost like a Rhodes piano. A really nice sound to it. So they've all got these lovely, pretty elements that float along. I think as a whole, it didn't quite grab me, but there's some really nice bits to it. And then we go floating back into the original melody. And because of the passive nature of that section, this one sounds positively thunderous and storming now. Just the contrast. And particularly that sort of bass line bit really sort of drives it forward. As he repeats, don't make me wait forever, we get these sort of progressive notes together, this which kind of often in music symbolize kind of time passing, which is I thought was a really nice touch because he's talking about don't make me wait forever. And the whole of that section actually does have this kind of metronomic feel to it, which is really nice as well. And then with Oh My Love, we drop back into cocktail hour at the Electro Pop Lounge. And he proclaims that he was doing fine without you until I saw your eyes, I think he says. Um, we get a bit more sort of 80s keyboard effects that sparkle like Argos jewelry. Our British viewers will know what I mean by that. And then we come to an end. So it was quite the two different sections kind of repeated again and again. I think this had some promise, but it didn't particularly go in a direction that I would say I enjoyed. Didn't dislike it either. But there was some of it that was very 80s sort of electro pop type music for me, which I really didn't enjoy at the time. Um, I had about half a decade of that music back then, and it wasn't for me then, less so now. It was so it wasn't anything that I hated, but I didn't enjoy it as much, and it kind of firmed up my opinion of Tame Impala is that they were they started to go in a direction that was more along those lines, and that's absolutely fine. But it wasn't my. It would I wouldn't be following him along that
Mm.
direction. So that's what I think.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, fair, fair. Um, yeah, I guess this is which is just going to be a point where we kind of disagree because I love this album. Now, not every actually this song is a little bit different than a lot of the other stuff on the album. So it's probably not a fair indicator of
Now I was wondering that actually, yeah,
yeah, the sum of the parts. So I
and
could
where it fits in within his discography as well. If you
yeah,
obviously
well,
need
it's as I'll get into, I'm sure I'll touch on this or repeat myself a little bit, but serendipitously, this is the third album. So this is the very next album after the two that you own
Oh.
digitally. But again, in the interest of fairness, this doesn't sound exactly like or close to a lot of the other stuff on the album. So from which I may pull in the future just to show you what else this album has to offer. And like you said, it's not like you disliked it. It's just that you didn't overtly love it, which is totally fine. But yeah, let's get into the act and the album and the song. So Tame Impala is a psychedelic music project of Australian singer and multi-instrumentalist Kevin Parker. In the recording studio, Parker writes, records, performs, and produces all of the project's music. As a touring act, Tame Impala consists of Parker on vocals, guitar, synthesizer, Dominique Simper on guitar and synthesizer, Jay Watson on synthesizer, vocals, and guitar, Cam Avery on bass, guitar, vocals, and you guessed it, synthesizer, and Julian Barbagallo on drums and vocals. The group has a close affiliation with fellow Australian psychedelic rock band Pond, sharing members and collaborators, including Nick Albrook, formerly a live member of Tame Impala. So a bit of sister bands there, yeah.
That's interesting. So there's a similar-ish band called Pond from Australia. Because there's a
Yeah.
band called Pond from, get this right, not Seattle, Portland, Oregon.
Oh.
And they were sub pop band early 90s.
Oh,
So
you know what? Yeah, I
you
think I
don't
remember.
you don't even have to guess what they sound like. You
Yeah,
know
yeah.
straight away. So it's interesting. There's anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe-
Interesting they got away with that because I've heard of like bands from other countries changing their names because of the existence of a band in another country that has the same name.
I think they have to be contemporaneous. So
Oh,
Pond split late 90s. So I think you get it. It's like we had the beat in this country had to become the English beat. I know some others as well, the
yeah.
British or English in front of their name just to, differentiate.
Exactly. Yeah. So, originally signed to Modular Records, Tame Impala is now signed to Interscope Records in the US and Fiction Records in the UK over there. So Parker originally, yeah. Are they
The Cure.
The Cure? That's who the Cure is signed with. Friction, okay, or Fiction. Pardon me. Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Parker originally conceived the project in Perth in 2007 after a series of singles and EPs. Tame Impala's debut studio album, Inner Speaker, was released in 2010. It was certified gold in Australia and well received by critics. Parker's 2012 follow-up, Lonerism, as you mentioned earlier, was also acclaimed, reaching platinum status in Australia and receiving a Grammy Award nomination for Best Alternative Music Album here in the States. Tame Impala's third album, Currents, was released in July of 2015, and like its predecessor, it won the ARIA Award for Best Rock Album and Album of the Year. Parker won the APRA Award for Song of the Year in 2016 for Current's first track, Let It Happen. The fourth studio album, The Slow Rush, was released on February 14th, 2020. Happy Valentine's Day. At the 2020 ARIA Music Awards, Tame Impala won 5 of them. The track I had you listen to today is featured on the aforementioned Currents album from 2015. And for the first time, Parker mixed the music and recorded all instruments by himself, and the album featured no other collaborators. Parker began work on Currents, largely recording at his home studio in Fremantle. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He engrossed himself with writing and recording, and keeping with his reputation as a musical auteur, labored over the details of each song, ultimately causing the release date to be delayed by 2 months. In contrast to the psychedelic rock sounds of the project's prior work, Currents marks a shift to a more dance-oriented music, with more emphasis placed on synthesizers than guitars. The album's change in style has a root in several events. Parker began to feel that even songs outside the psychedelic genre could possess its qualities. He made this assumption while under the influence of psychedelic mushrooms and cocaine, it should be noted, and listening to the Bee Gees. So yeah, that'll do it, I would imagine. Parker was also inspired to seek a change out of the desire to hear Tame Impala's music played in dance clubs and more communal settings. Thematically, the record is about the process of personal transformation, which many critics interpreted to be the result of a romantic breakup. The album's cover art depicted a vortex shedding. Vortex shedding is a visualization of these themes. Currents was supported by the release of the singles Let It Happen, 'Cause I'm a Man, Eventually, and The Less I Know, The Better. The album became the project's best charting release, debuting at #1 in Australia, #3 in the UK, and #4 in the United States. As of January of 2023, Currents has sold over 1 million copies in the US. Like its predecessors, the album received critical acclaim and appeared on various critics' lists of the best albums of the year 2015. As mentioned earlier, Currents was awarded Best Rock Album and Album of the Year at the 2015 ARIA Music Awards, and it also received nominations for Grammy Award for Best Alternative Music Album and the J Award for Australian Album of the Year. In December of 21, the album was listed at number 12 in Rolling Stone Australia's list of the 200 greatest Australian albums of all time. And in 2020, Rolling Stone ranked Currents 382 on its list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. Currents received widespread acclaim from music critics. On Metacritic, the album holds an average critic score of 84, based on 38 critics indicating universal acclaim. The Guardian gave it a perfect rating, while several other publications and critics awarded it a near perfect score. Ian Cohen of Pitchfork, who scored the album a 9.3, gave the album a Best New Music designation, saying, "Nearly every proper song on Currents is a revelatory statement of Parker's range and increasing expertise as a producer, arranger, songwriter, and vocalist, while maintaining the essence of Tame Impala." Cohen compared the record to others such as Loveless, Kid A, and Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, writing, "It's the result of a supernaturally talented obsessive trying to perfect music while redefining their relationship to album-oriented rock." Spin's Harley Brown, who graded it a 9 out of 10, called it the purest and most complex distillation of everything that makes the band such a nearly physical pleasure to listen to. Brown added, "The real magic of Currents, though, is how Parker so effectively and genuinely, for the most part, manipulates the listener's emotions without necessarily revealing any himself." Alex Denny of NME, who graded the album an 8 out of 10, praised Parker for his musical transition, writing, "Fuzzed out guitars simply aren't where Parker's head is at now. which strikes us as a fair trade-off from a producer pushing at the outer reaches of his talent. John Parles of the New York Times said that, like their first two albums, the core of Tame Impala is its aura of solitude. He called Currents a tour de force for the songwriter and his gizmos, but it's also decidedly hermetic, nearly airless. Spin ranked it as the year's fourth best, calling it the group's best because its soul actually lies in Motown. Mojo also ranked the album as fourth best of the year. Pitchfork ranked the album as the year's fifth best. Pace ranked Currents as the number 8 of its on its list of the year's best albums, calling it a near perfect album and a superb progression from their last efforts, a study in internal consistency. Rolling Stone placed the album at number 13 on its list of 50 best albums of 2015. The album was also ranked 5th best of the year by Consequence of Sound, NME, 15th best by Stereo Gum, and 22nd best by Pop Matters, while Exclaim named it the 8th best pop rock album of the year. In 2016, this song peaked at number 23 on the Belgian Flanders singles chart, number 66 on the ARIA singles chart, number 195 on the French singles charts, and in the US, the song charted at number 35 on Billboard's Hot Rock Songs chart. The week after reaching number 1 in Triple J's Hottest 100 of the 2010, the song entered the ARIA Top 50 for the first time, charting 49 places higher than its previous peak of 66. In May of 21, APRA Amcos confirmed that the song surpassed 1 billion streams. It's incredible. The album title Currents references the abandoned South Fremantle power station, where Parker found inspiration during the writing process for the album. He recalled a lot of the songs on Currents have passages that were directly inspired by the powerhouse and doing laps of it. It is scary and confronting, but such a beautiful thing. Parker also wrote many of the album's lyrics on nearby beaches, including Fremantle's South Beach. There are many things that seep into your music, and one of them is where you live, he later said. I suddenly remembered the value of being somewhere serene and beautiful and getting inspired in that way. So let's jump into these lyrics. Someone said they left together. I ran out the door to get her. She was holding hands with Trevor. Not the greatest feeling ever. Said, pull yourself together. You should try your luck with Heather. Then I heard they slept together. Oh, the less I know, the better. The less I know, the better.
So there was like at least 3 togethers. Come on.
Yeah. There were a couple. I don't know if every line ended with it, but there was at least 3 in a sea of 9.
That's what's like, yeah, it was confusing me.
I mean, he was dismounting with together at about 30% of that verse, so you're not completely wrong. So the chorus. Oh my love, can't you see yourself by my side? No surprise, leaning on his shoulder like every night. Oh my love, can't you see that you're on my mind? Don't suppose you could convince your lover to change his mind. So goodbye. She said it's not now or never. Wait 10 years, we'll be together. I said better late than never. Just don't make me wait forever. Don't make me wait forever. Don't make me wait forever. Oh, my love, can't you see yourself by my side? I don't suppose you could convince your lover to change his mind. I was doing fine without you till I saw your face. Now I can't erase. Given in to all his bullshit. Is this what you want? Is this who you are? I was doing fine without you till I saw your eyes turn away from mine. All sweet talking when where he wants you. So come on, Superman, say your stupid line. So come on, Superman, say your stupid line. So come on, Superman, say your stupid line. The less I know, the better describes the pain of a man feeling left out of a love triangle, if it wasn't already obvious. Illustrated with a complex arrangement of groovy bass hooks. That was the first thing that sunk its teeth into me when I listened to the song. Sensual Rhodes piano chords, and moody synth textures. Lars Brandl of Billboard described it as a strange tale of high school lust and jealousy and King Kong played out in a Technicolor trip. So, there you have it. It may not have tickled your fancy as much as it did mine, but I'm as happy to bring it to the channel. And hopefully, maybe down the line, I will bring another song off this album and a chance to, I wouldn't say redeem, but underscore how this song itself isn't indicative of the total of the album. Though I will say, I'm a big fan of this track, as dancey and poppy as it may be. So, John, thank you, honestly, for giving this a listen. I'm glad I could introduce you to some of Tame Impala's work from their third album, sort of like the point where you had left off. So there you go, guys out there in the listening audience.
Sorry, before you finish, but as I understand it, they've really blown up in terms of like, you know, sales and etc.
Oh,
First
yeah.
two albums didn't really do much, and then this is the one that pushed them. You know,
Yes.
they're a big
Yes.
name now. Yeah.
Although from a critical standpoint, it was just like the next
Yeah.
step, because they were just getting those first two albums. It's not like they went unnoticed by the writers and the
Yeah.
critics out there. So, but yeah, you're right. This kind of like really catapulted them. I think they got like a Grammy award the first go around, or a nomination the first go around, and a little bit of international recognition. This internationally catapulted them. So yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, folks out there in the listening audience, let us know your thoughts on Tame Impala and this track, The Less I Know, the Better. If there's any other stuff from this album or albums beyond the first two that John is familiar with that we should give a listen to on the channel, please drop them down in the comment field below. Also, like, share, and subscribe if you be so inclined, and if you haven't yet. Really does help us over here at the channel, and we really do appreciate it. All that out of the way, hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next episode of the Audiophiles. See you later, guys.